Hey guys, welcome back to Wick's Garage. This week I'm going to show you all the parts I just got back from Ollie's Engineering, the specialty machine shop for 911s and air-cooled motors. So let's check it out.
It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity.
All right, first up, let's talk a little bit about Ollie's. Ollie's is a machine shop located in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. All they do is air-cooled 911 motors. They don't do water-cooled, they don't do anything outside of Porsche. They only do Porsche air-cooled motors, which is kind of cool. Day after day, they're doing the same things. They know exactly what they're doing because they just do so many of them. They also have a great reputation on the Pelican Parts air-cooled forum. It's an easy choice to send my stuff there. The only problem I would say with Ollie's is that the timeline is great. There's a demand for their service, especially when we get into winter months in the United States. A lot of guys do projects, so they'll be sending engine parts to them. The backup can be 2 to 3 months for things like a crank, a line boring, a case. Pretty much anything there is probably a minimum of 6 weeks. Having said that, I wasn't on any particular short timeline, so no problem. I just sent my stuff off to them. Actually, I think about 4 weeks later, they called me up and said, hey, your crank's done. I live fairly close to Ollie's, so I was able to send a friend over there. He picked it up for me. That way I didn't risk sending it through a carrier where it could get damaged by dropping it or something like that. Now, the mods that I had done to the 3.2 crank were to MagnaFlux it, which is to check it for cracks using a process of magnetic particles and then looking at it under a UV light, I think it is. That will clearly show any cracks in the metal. So that's pretty much always done when you take a crank to the machine shop. The other things I had done were to cross drill. That's kind of a racy thing that a lot of 911 guys do with the crank. Wasn't that much more expensive to do. And basically what that entails is drilling cross-angle oil galleys through the crank in order to cool the inner bearings with oil better. The other thing I had them do was to groove the center bearing. This particular main has a tendency to get oil starvation, and that bearing itself in the case tends to wear more because the oil doesn't get to it as much. It's kind of right in the middle of everything. I thought it was a good idea to have them groove that, so basically oil gets into that groove, keeps that center bearing cool. The last thing I had them do was to micro polish. Basically you can see how shiny all of the bearing surfaces are. The rod bearing surface as well as the main bearing surface, those are all polished. This thing's ready to drop into the engine. This is what they call a standard crank, meaning that they did not have to grind anything down in order to achieve tolerance of the original factory crank. If you did have to do that, you would have to get oversized bearings. Luckily, my crank was in good condition, so I did not have to do that. Again, now it's ready to pop in, so let's check out the heads. The number one thing I wanted to do with the heads was to twin plug it. Now, what that does for me is I have 91 gas here in Southern Nevada. It's the same as the California gas. It's the highest octane I can get. E85 is actually a problem for older 911s because of the high ethanol content. It tends to gum up and then degrade the plastic fuel lines. So really, I like ethanol-free gas for my classic 911. That led me to design a 3.4 engine that was twin plugged. The thinking behind that is that I could go with a higher compression, say 10.5 to 1, and still use pump gas, maybe supplement it occasionally with some race gas to make it a little higher octane, but still not have detonation problems. So I definitely knew I wanted to twin plug it. Also, it just looks cool. Okay, as you can see here, they've machined out a second hole. Of course, this will be in the lower portion of the car underneath, and the lower valve covers all actually have 12 plugs running the 6-cylinder car. The 3.2 head is actually quite large as far as the intake. I think it's 41, which is pretty big in Porsche air-cooled engines. So I didn't really need to port or polish this area. It's sufficient. I stuck with the factory intake and exhaust ports. They did replace the valves. All my valves were cracked and beaten up. And they do what's called a 3-angle valve grind, which is the area around the valve seat, which gives a little bit better flow of gas around the valve. We do have new ASCO titanium valve retainers, ASCO springs. So I'm excited about these. They're pretty much ready to drop in for the 3.4 build. There's a little bit of cleaning yet to do on these, a little bit of the original 574 Loctite that originally held the engine together. So I'll have to do some minor cleaning, but other than that, they're pretty much ready to drop in. All right, let's take a look at the cam towers. All right, guys, I did send them my cam towers as well. There was some metal content in my engine, so I knew I'd want to remove the oil spray bars that run through the cam tower here that keep the rocker arms cool. You can actually see on the ends where they removed the spray bars, cleaned them out, and then plugged them. Of course, it is all blasted and pretty much spotless. New freeze plug there on the end. Very nice. Not much more to say about that, except it's clean, it's straight, and it's ready to put on the engine when I'm gonna do assembly. All right, another thing I had Ollie's do was twin plug the lower valve covers to match my new twin plug heads. Of course, you need access for the plugs in the bottom. This is a turbo lower valve cover, so what they have to do is machine the 3 holes, as well as remove some of the ribbing here and the area here so that the plug can come up flush and plug in. There is some finish work I have to do on this. Looks like they just did a quick machining job, so there's some rough edges. I'll have to come back and clean it up and sand the edges smooth. And I'm gonna have these probably Cerakoted black for the design look that I'm going for. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for Ollie's in this batch. I did send them my case as well in a separate batch. Also my rockers, to have the rockers rebushed, a regrind on the rocker arms. So we'll cover that in a future episode. All right, guys, thanks for watching this week's episode of Wick's Garage. I want to thank Aussie Sales, link in the description. Also, TI Porsche Products, as always, check it out. This is their new oil filter cooler. Slides right onto your oil filter. Definitely high quality, as TI Porsche products always are. Next week, guys, I am going to show you the car on the trailer. As you may have noticed, this is not my Project 77. That's at the Blaster, so I'm going to show you a couple pictures from taking it to the Blaster. Hopefully we'll have that back soon. Down to bare metal. Exciting time, so tune in next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe. See you guys next time.